So each of us will get 4 minutes, and I'm going to go ahead and start. Tori, that was excellent, very funny, and you looked very confident up there. So thank you for sharing with this. It seems like it's a very personal topic. Was it hard for you to research something that you relate to so much?
During the initial researching process, I was going through all the symptoms, and I was like, whoa, these are all crazy. They all relate back to me. I was kind of viewing it as like a horoscope for the day, and then I realized, wait, I am ADHD. I have a diagnosis. This all should pertain to me. So that was sort of my researching process.
Okay.
That answers it.
Yeah. And you mentioned that there are some things that kids who have ADHD can avoid, including foods. What are some foods that are maybe triggers or should be avoided?
These food allergens are sort of like food additives, or food allergens are different from food additives, and allergens depend on the child. Like you can have a reaction to different foods, like any other allergy. But food additives, there are certain food additives that trigger the symptoms more. I believe they are yellow 6, 28, and 30, and red 40, which are in such foods as like cereal, yogurt, and ice cream.
Okay, all right. And if you could give some advice or hope to parents or teachers out there who have the joy of dealing with a kid who has ADHD in their life, what encouragement would you give them?
Gets better. In 18 years, they're able to leave. That's it. Does that work?
Okay, I'll turn it over to Mrs. Brett.
Tori, you did an awesome job.
Thank you.
I was very impressed. It was very funny. Let's see. What about the parents with a student with ADHD, but they ignore the problem? It's not that they hide it, but they ignore the problem. How would you suggest that we would approach those parents?
As a teacher?
As a teacher, or as administrative, or we see this issue and we're kind of like, well, but the parents don't want to admit it.
I mean, you can't force a parent to take on the diagnosis because it's a pretty serious thing. But you can definitely encourage the parents to look into it because it's a not disability. It's a medical condition that just like it needs to be seen. You can see these kids struggling in the school. So if you see this, I think while they might not want to hear it, if they hear it enough times, I think they might finally get around to a diagnosis, and that would be best for the child.
I read your report. I read your paper, and your argument is to find a place in private schools for students who have ADHD, and teacher making some classroom management changes. But what about the effect of this particular student, like on the whole classroom as a whole? Is it positive? Is it negative? What?
I mentioned in my speech that it diversifies the environment, and that's part of the diversifying process. It may cause some distraction and some turmoil, maybe not turmoil, but some impulsivity in the classroom, but it won't take away from the learning environment so much where it will become a incredibly negative effect.
So you would say it's more positive than the negative?
I would say, whoa. Part of the process, right? I would say it is partly negative, but I believe it is it's something that should be done anyway. Mm-hmm. It should be something that's integrated anyway. Like there's a whole bunch of other problems that occur in a classroom, and I believe this isn't a major one that could be added.
Right.
It's better.
What has been your experience?
What has been my experience?
As an ADHD student in a private school?
So I was offered accommodations. In the beginning, I was offered extended time on tests. I was offered to be able to use headphones in class that would help with focus. I decided personally to reject them because I wanted to go through the learning environment without these accommodations. But that was my experience. When I initially registered, they offered me these opportunities.
So has that been positive? Negative
So
for you?
it has been difficult without the accommodations, but I would say it made me personally strengthen because I was able to manage time better while being pressured to do it. But that was just my experience personally. For other people, it may differ. Like some people may need extended time on tests, and yeah.
Okay.
What about,
Sorry, we've got to move on to our next panelist.
Here we go. Excellent paper. By
Thank
the way,
you.
I am a mother of an ADHD child, 4th grader. I'm happy to admit that. He's a great kid. And I read him a little bit of this paper, and he's like, that's me. That's me. It's very spot on, so I really appreciate this. And my question is, I understand these struggles are real, but when do we stop accommodating for these struggles? I mean, you have to get out of school, go to the workforce, go to college, whatever. But when do we stop accommodating?
I would say probably after high school, but up through there, like middle school, high school, that's like a integral part, or not integral, it is a important part of that learning development.
Mm-hmm.
But by the time they leave high school, they should hopefully have been able to develop some more skills in impulse control and time management, all these other things that have come from living 18 years or 19 years. So I'd say after high school, the accommodations can stop because at that point they're just learning on their own, and they should have hopefully gained the necessary.
So you think accommodating is a learning tool for them?
Say what?
You think that accommodating is actually a learning tool for
Yes,
them?
I
To
believe.
train them, kind of like how
Yes.
the medication trains them, whatever,
Mhm.
impulse control, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
So you think this small accommodation, which is very small, I see no
Mhm.
problem with it personally, but you think this will help them in the future?
I believe so.
And,
Yeah.
and train themselves too. I mean, because if you think about it, they have to go to church, and we go to church, and my son knows that he has to be quiet in church. He's learned that with or without medication. So, good enough answer for me. Thank you.
Well, I thought you did an excellent job. I'm also ADHD. I was
Nice.
diagnosed back in 1995, so you were born yet.
Make us sound old.
But I guess I have a couple questions. One of them would be, how do you encourage an ADHD student not to use their ADHD as a crutch?
That's a good one.
Oof. Changing a mindset. Oof. I think it's sort of a maturity thing to use it as a crutch. Like it's an immature move to say, you can't blame me for distracting in class. It's because I'm ADHD. But how would I talk to them? I'd probably just explain you can't use it as a crutch. I remember my mother giving me that exact statement one day after school. She's, stop. So I had that, and that helped me, I guess. So I don't want to give my answer as just saying stop, but I think it's around that area of explaining to them that it isn't something that you can say as a crutch. You have to work with it.
Yeah.
Answers.
And I know you mentioned the positive and negative effects of communication. If you give praise, they respond in a positive sense. If you discipline them, they tend to actually shrink back. Have you had a specific experience with this that you want to share?
With the praise or discipline?
Yeah. In a classroom setting.
There's been quite a bit of discipline, I would say, which has helped. I'm not going to go into specifics, but personally, I got a lot more discipline than encouragement. But the times I did get encouragement, it was very helpful. But I do think that the punishment is very effective and works really well. at that time.
Well, I guess I was more so leaning on, growing up, I had a teacher that said I wouldn't do well at all, and I didn't do well in her class. And then I went to another teacher's class, and I got straight A's. But that teacher would encourage me and tell me different things like about famous ADHD people. I don't remember any of them because I wasn't paying attention. But I got A's in that class. So I'm more so leaning on that. Have you had experience with teachers at this school?
Oh, at this school.
How
okay.
they address, well, you don't have to say this school, but how they address your ADHD in a positive or negative sense?
At my old school, I didn't come here all my life. But sorry, just kidding. I went to a public middle school, which I had the same experience where I had a teacher that was not right for me, I guess, and she just it was more of that punishment and no encouragement than anything else. Then I moved out of her class and went to another one, which was very supportive. There was still punishment. But there was that like you can do this thing, you can do these things, and you're going to be able to accomplish a lot if you just put your mind to it. And in that class, I succeeded a lot more and continue to with those types of teachers. And at Trinity, I haven't had anyone that's just discipline. I don't think.
So it's probably safe to conclude that I guess positively encouraging students with ADHD in a classroom setting would actually improve their learning ability.
I would say so, yeah.
Okay, and now it's time for questions from the audience.
Yeah. Great job. Before I get to my question, I have a comment about the when should accommodations stop. I actually had a classmate in medical school with ADHD, and he found a service that got him through college and medical school that could translate all his textbooks into audiobooks, so he would listen as he read. And he was also able to get a time limit for exams removed, so he could actually take as long as he needed. And happy to report he's doing great in his practice. He's actually an anesthesiologist as well, which is a specialty you don't have a problem with attention. But my question is, a couple years ago, there was an article in the Journal of Pediatrics that showed evidence for the phenomenon of teenagers would sleeping until noon if they were left on their own devices. There's a biological basis for that. And they came up with a statement that, and as a result, there were school districts on the mainland that actually changed their start times because the Universal Historic school start day of 7:30 or 8 is actually counterproductive to the biology of adolescents and teenagers. And so they shift the time back and with great results. Did you find in your reading or research, is there any, or your own personal experience, is there any kind of diurnal pattern to this where there's a certain time of day you're just super productive and attentive, and with that kind of accommodation?
First off, I want to say, Ms. Wilkes, you heard that right. I just want to make sure. In my, I think I've seen that in my own life, and I think I've seen that in other people's lives as well, where in the morning it's not as productive, or not productive, but enthusiastic energy-wise. It's sort of mellowed out, not mellow, but normal, I guess. Sorry, but towards like afternoon and nighttime, their energy level spikes quite a bit, and my mother can definitely attest to this, I believe. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Good job. You clearly researched a lot, have a lot of experience. Your personal story, I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
And, you're wearing a really fuzzy looking vest, so that's cool.
Yeah.
But throughout all this research that you did, what do you think the most not interesting thing you learned?
Most interesting thing I learned. I would probably, most interesting thing I learned was when three ADHD people try to work in a room together to come up with jokes for a thesis, nothing gets done. So that would be my answer for that. Yeah, Mr. Edmond.
Well done, Tori, and I'm very proud of you. Hopefully I had you sitting in the right seat in my class. But my question is, you have done a wonderful job of embracing who you are and the difficulties without letting that tear you down. How was it to learn that you had ADHD, and what led you to the place where you can embrace it and see it as who you are without letting it slow you down?
Yeah, so I learned I was ADHD when I was in kindergarten, I believe. First grade, just kidding, first grade. And at that time, it didn't really affect me that much. I was just happy. Mother, maybe not as happy, but I was happy. She was being driven crazy. But I think it was never like something that I was like, this is bad, this is horrible. I can think of, I guess, some cases where I'd be like, why can't I focus as well as other people? Why am I not able to memorize as well as other people? But in general, it's always been who I am. So, and it wasn't something I was like, I hate this, it's stupid, I need this out of my life. But yeah, I just never had that moment where I was like, gotta get this out.
We're actually out of time. I don't know if we could field maybe one or two. One more. Choose your one favorite person, Tori.
If I don't pick him, we're gonna have a conversation at home. Yes?
I would like to make a statement. People that don't know that it's hereditary.
Oh yeah.
So he's got it from me. Because when she went to the doctor to find out what it is, and the doctors explained all the symptoms, I said, that's me. And they find out it's hereditary. I go, well, that makes total sense now. So, and it's hereditary, and it's in nature because it's for multitasking for hunters. So I just want to say.
Thank you.